stream for technique workshop. So let me grab some things that I've prepared here. We'll be a bit low tech today since I'm not. This particular stream is not going to be converted into a document for the Patreon or for itch. Mostly today what we'll be doing is just kind of going over techniques, how they work, some cool ideas that people have had that they submitted to us, and possibly some content from Valor Live or from the upcoming Best in Class, just depending on how time goes. But yeah, the idea with today's stream, and if folks like it, I may do these every so often, is kind of teaching people how to really use the technique system in Valor to do cool things, do interesting things, achieve the effects that you want. So we're going to go ahead and start with some user submissions. A lot of folks in the Discord were kind enough to submit these various techniques and builds. So, if you want to talk to some other incredibly talented Valor players who are really good at using the system, always, of course, feel free to join our Discord, which the bot should link every so often. But let's jump right into it. So, Dr. Nocebo's Magical Medical Cure-All, submitted by Varric. Yes, this one is yours. We'll start with yours. This is kind of an interesting one. I like this. It's a season 2 minimum ability. Really, what I noticed with this, so it's a range 2 technique off of Gut, so it's got a range of 6. It can do 2 targets, and it can chain. So it looks like kind of how this particular cure-all will work is that it will, in a party of 5, if Dr. Nocebo here is the 5th member, they should be able to heal the rest of their party in its entirety with a pretty good range. The fact that it chains means that you can hit party members within 6, because it's a gut, 6 spaces, and then chain it to the other for a healing of 55 health, kind of in the Season 2, Season 3 range. Pretty good. Very straightforward. This is one of the, I would say, optimal ways to build a healing, in that you can just kind of spread that healing around to a lot of characters. The inclusion of the ally limit is interesting. In the notes that Varric gave me, they mentioned that the ally limit plus the vitality limit is intended to be for the other party members, and also that the character would not be interested in healing the other party members if their health was too low. Vitality limit prevents you from using a healing ability if your personal health is within the critical range of 40%. The next one, and I believe I see her in chat as well, is Emily's. This is kind of the submission of a build that requires a certain kind of technique, but this is a pretty funny build, so I had to include it. She just goes by steps, right? So step 1, improve damage increment and the unmovable skill. So improve damage increment means that when you knock people into walls, when you use your feint skills or sneak attack or whatever, you gain a bit of extra damage. Improved damage increment increases that. The unmovable skill means that you cannot be pushed or pushed easily. It reduces that movement rate. And it makes it so that you count as a wall for purpose of things getting flung into you. The second step is a transformation with the violent aura and the expanded reach, which means that you damage everyone within your zone of control, and your zone of control with expanded reach is actually 2 spaces around you instead of 1, which means you've got a very wide violent aura range where you're hitting people. I believe violent aura also keys off of damage increment. It's been a while since I've looked at that skill, but memory serves that it also uses damage increment for that. And then finally, step 3, a bunch of techniques with range, reposition, either immobilize or knock down, and the pull limit. Which, yes, thank you, Emily, who remembers that particular skill better than I. So yeah, that does also use damage increment. So the crux of this build, and like I said, this is a really funny build. I really like it. Is basically everything you do, you yank someone into you, and they bounce off the giant wall that is you, and they take a massive amount of extra damage. And honestly, it's very funny to me. I love this build. So if you want to do funny movement shenanigans where you yourself are a wall, definitely consider this build. I don't know what the character in question used. I would probably do strength, guts, and either agility or spirit for your ranged abilities to just have that optimal range to just yank people towards you and keep bouncing them off yourself. This next one, this was also a submission by Emily, and this one has a very cool backstory to it, which I really like, as well as the mechanical effect, which is also very interesting. According to Emily, the idea behind this character, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, was that the character drew power from books. So they would be able to summon forth their abilities by using, like great literature or whatever. And this final ability was a domain that was created around the story of that party's adventures. I believe this was the level 20 ultimate, so the final ultimate that this character unlocked. Domains are an interesting ability. We released them early on the website as kind of free content when COVID hit. They're currently slated to release with the Foes supplement, which is still in update hell, so I can get it in a proper state to release on itch. But I will probably also include, just for posterity, I will also include domain in the tools of the trade, since players shouldn't have to buy the Foes book to get all of the cool options that players can get. And Varric here stating that domains are very popular among testers, which I am glad to see, because I really would like them to be tested a lot. The domains, as an ability, they're complicated. They take some memory to track, just because of all of the things they can do. They're very cool, in my opinion, but test data is definitely needed just to make sure that they balance out. I haven't recently heard any freaking out from Quinn, the co-creator, who definitely was not sold on this ultimate when I first rolled it out. But we dialed back a significant portion of some of the more excessively powerful mods, and I think they're in a pretty good spot now. So this domain, additional blast radius. Domains typically, I believe, have a blast radius of about 2 + 1 per season. The per season increases for those who have the... Oh, Emily's saying this domain is what sold Quinn on domains. So good job, Emily. Thank you for doing the good work of making my co-creator not hate what I churn out post launch. Yeah, if memory serves, blast radius, you have an inherent blast radius of, I think, about 2. And then it increases by 1 per season. That rule is kind of a new take we're doing. You'll see if you have the early access for tools that we add post season 1 scaling to a number of modifiers and skills. And this is kind of in that spirit. Effect lock was another modifier that we released in kind of that free package with domain, because domains, honestly, they really need this in some cases to function, so we wanted to make sure that was available. And that just simply locks it to you. And since domain creates this giant zone, if you effect lock it, then you walk around and the domain moves with you. Very important, in my opinion. something that will mesh really well with a lot of builds. Break Valor limit, always a fun one. This lets you get up to 20 Valor, and if you do somehow manage to cap your Valor at 20, which, with remarkable roleplay and all of that, absolutely doable. You get a +2 to all of your rolls when you're capped at Valor 20. Plus, you can just spend 20 Valor to overdrive, which, again, is powerful in and of itself. With that, you see a lot of the Valor boost skills where you can spend an overdrive to increase your active attributes. So that gives everybody a good boost if they got it. And this particular point I find very interesting. The domain bestows the stamina transference and health transference abilities to every ally within it. Now this is classic Emily design, in that Emily is one of the most creative and brutal users of the Valor system that I've ever met. Her builds are phenomenal, and I love this idea. So what stamina and health transfers do, for those who haven't taken this skill, is it lets you sacrifice an increment of your health or stamina to give an increment to an ally. I can see all kinds of uses for this, especially because it's not proportional. So, a weaker caster could sacrifice a health increment to give an increment of health to a tank, and that tank would receive more benefit from that health transference than the penalty that the caster paid. Or vice versa for stamina, if someone needs to be a mana battery. It's a really cool ability that allows the party to really just pump energy, whatever form that takes, into whoever needs it, as really good. It's still a support action, obviously, so this is not totally broken, but I love this concept. It is really cool. I think there may be a few more Emily things in here. She's, as I said, she's one of our more dangerous GMs, so she has lots of cool ideas. This one was submitted by Awe. I liked this one a lot conceptually. 2 lives, 2 bodies. This is a transformation core. The idea behind this one, so far as I could tell, is... Well, first, Awe didn't put a lot of limits on it, so this is enormously expensive, stamina-wise. But the core idea here is that it gives you a companion, and I believe also access to the clone skill. I don't know, there are limits. I think I got the stamina cost wrong, or that was the unmitigated stamina cost. Okay, not the clone skill, just the companion and a bunch of swift step and other abilities. Key among these here is the transposition skill, which lets you switch spaces. So my understanding, they didn't go into too much detail, is that this creates a companion that's like a second you, basically. And since companions can use any of your techniques and they can serve as the origin point for that technique, it lets you kind of shoot your attacks from whichever one of the yous that's on the field. And with transposition, you can actually change places, so the core body and the companion, which I guess would be serving as a secondary body, can just swap places with each other easily using that swift step idea. And with the free swift step on top of that, it makes it so that you can pretty much do that at a very low cost. Very, very interesting idea, very neat. Also flank attack, which I believe that's actually supposed to be team tac, or no, flank attack is the companion version of team tactics, so that you can flank with yourself, which is cool, because that gives you that nice boost. So if both of yourselves want to jump the same enemy, you can get a nice boost on that. After image, that's what I was thinking when I thought clone. After image gives you the ability to leave a temporary clone behind yourself after you swift step. Just kind of making use of two chains of skills that usually you build a character around. and then just dropping it on yourself for this high level transformation. Very cool. I like it a lot. Uh, it is it's very thematically interesting, and like even just looking at the name of this technique and just all of the modifiers that are attached to it, I immediately know what this is supposed to achieve, and I can see that it achieves it very well. And that's one of the things I like about the technique system is you can kind of tell what people are going for even with minimal information, so long as you can just look at the readout. So yeah, that is a great transformation. Uh, oh yes, so I believe this is the last. I think this was Varix as well. I had notes on here. Give me 1 second. Yes, this was Varix submission. I do actually have a few more that people linked to talk about, but this is the last on this document at least. So apparently, this this is one of the main techniques that led to the conversation about revising how Drain was supposed to work. Originally, Drain took 1/2 of its damage and health from every target. So this particular ability, which I believe was, which I'm sure, or almost certain was run in one of Quinn's games, it has 3 different targets on it. So since it's spirit, that means it can hit up to 4 people, and pretty much range 8. So that's a pretty good mid to long range hit. You can probably find enough people to hit, and from that you'll drain a fair bit of health just from all of these targets. Taken from season 1 to season 4. Okay, so this is a lot stronger now than it used to be. The way it used to work under the old rules, and I had honestly been looking at it myself before Quinn really just started moving towards the errata, which we eventually discussed and I incorporated, but it used to be under these old rules, kind of the unintentional result was that a drain ability is much more efficient when it targets a bunch of different people as opposed to only targeting one person. I think the current rules are very. Oh, was this your game, Peter? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I just assumed this was Quinn's game because Quinn freaked out about Drain at me. Point being, this was actually something I was working at. If I have a chance, I can show an ability that I built for one of our sample characters, Mary, who also kind of functioned under the same thing. But yeah, it used to be under Drain. Drain was more optimal when you targeted multiple people because you would drain a small amount of health from each one. Now, of course, Drain will drain the entirety of its damage back as health. But if it targets multiple people, you just get the highest of those. A lot more balanced. It means that it's not encouraging necessarily single target heavily over multiple target or multiple target heavily over single target, which the prior rules definitely did. So it was a good change, and I can see why this particular attack would inspire some. Hey, maybe these rules need a bit of a look at because it's not working the way it's supposed to be. And yeah, Emily, I definitely agree with that, and that was part of the reason why we did accept and publish these changes forward. Is honestly, our concept of Drain was that if it were to be favored for any of them, favoring a single target over a multiple target was more thematically appropriate because Drain, yeah, it was supposed to kind of be that vampire ability where you bloodsuck a single target. But that aside, I did have a few other. This one comes from Talia, who I note is using the icon from one of our Valor's chef characters. I believe that is Glinda Fieri. So you can see she's a fire mage there. So I'm always happy to see that design. One of our original artists that was I don't know what she's going by now, but she's changed her online identity a few times, but did great work on that. So this is a very simple boost, but it's a very interesting one in that the giving this skill through a boost lets you do really interesting things if you have the system mastery. So this boost, another goddamn tutor card. I presume this character is some kind of a Yu-Gi-Oh type card master. This gives you the Versatile Fighter skill. So what Versatile Fighter does is it gives you additional tech points. So when you are applying this boost, which I will state, we did not test this particular combo. We were aware of it, and we were fine with it occurring. Just in our initial playtest, we didn't really mess with it too much, and we just said, yeah, I think we're fine with this. So what this will do is this will give you 4 tech points to spend pretty much right away. So this lets you increase any of your techniques that you got, add cool other things. You could even develop your own technique off of it. And it's very useful. And if you are looking at cool tech that you can put in at a low level and that can be just useful to you, a Versatile Fighter boost is a good choice. It gives you cool options. It lets you, slap some extra blast radius on a technique if you really need to hit a bunch of people. It lets you boost the damage on something. There's just so much you can do with a Versatile Fighter boost. But it can slow the game down, so I definitely recommend it for more advanced players. But in terms of solid low-level techniques for advanced parties, this is a great one to consider. Oh, cool. I see we've got a submission in chat. I will get to that one in just a moment. Trinary, nice to see you again. Yeah, I will get to that one in a bit. The next one, and this one I believe was submitted by Michelle, who I think I saw in chat earlier. This is also a very simple boost, but it's got a cool sort of thematic ability, and as a added bonus, it is thematic, and it also reduces its stamina cost to 0 in doing so, which I'm always really on board with. So this one gives you level 2 stamina recovery. You cannot take this before you are in, I believe, Season 3, because I believe stamina recovery is a Season 4 skill only. Oh yeah, don't worry about that. I'm happy to take submissions over chat, so I'll pop that in a bit. We can talk about it. So Runner's High, very simple in that the character just, through their running, and you can see that it has a movement limit of 5, so the character must move at least 5 spaces before they can get this, put this on. That they just, after doing that, they start regenerating stamina, and that is very useful, especially for characters who tend to burn it at a high rate. The fact that it is a boost with no cost means that starting on the very first turn, you will recover, I believe, 6 stamina for level 2. I may be incorrect on that, but my recollection of the stamina recovery skill is about 6 stamina. So at the end of the round, when regeneration and stamina recovery kick in along with the Valor gain, you start regaining stamina, and that will begin on that very first turn that it hits. Oh, okay, so that would be 8 then, yeah, 4/4. It looks like it's not displaying correctly then, because this is saying stamina recovery 2, core power 3, so it should be actually core power 4. for 8/8, which would mean that it would probably cost about 2 stamina. I'll check with Quinn on that and see what the current book ruling is. Yeah, I like this a lot. It's a great way to just get your stamina recovery going. Oh, is it just a 4/2? I guess that does make sense. Huh. Yeah, I'll live with it. But yeah, great way to low cost, doing something that you already would be doing to start regenerating stamina. This gives this character, a level 11 character, a lot more freedom to throw out higher level techniques without necessarily as much impact. So this is really cool. I like it a lot. We'll go ahead and look at this gravity well technique here that Trinary sent. Just let me take a look at this here. So this is a damage core. This is a strength damage core, piercing, so it ignores defense. Reposition 2, strength specializes in reposition, so that will give it a little boost. With reposition 2, I believe it will throw targets 4 spaces. Whirlwind attack, which means it can attack everyone within the zone of control, and the throw modifier, with the limits of immobile and vitality. So this is an interesting one. If I'm looking at it correctly, with those modifiers, this should be free. So this should be a zero cost technique. Despite it being a strength technique, it is flavored as a gravity well, which is totally fine, by the way. Making it piercing, honestly, I think thematically works, so that even though it draws off your strength, it basically just penetrates defense entirely. And this basically just launches everyone outside of its area. If you knock people into other people, they will get hit by that same technique, and they will also be impacted, which is really cool. Great low-level tech. You can get this one I think you can get this at level 1, actually. So this is just a very strong early strength attack that lets you fling people in every direction and stack those damage increments. Which, absolutely very cool. Kind of as we were talking about with Emily's build earlier of the sucking people into you to bounce them off your unmovable and do that. Damage increment stacking is a very legitimate DPS build, and you can really get it rolling even at the early levels, which I am especially fond of. There's actually another boost that I thought I had put into my document that I didn't. Again, this one is a submission from Emily, who, as I've said, and I will continue to say, is one of the most powerful game masters in all of Valor. So the one that she put forward was a boost that gives great evasion and reckless attacker, and this is another really cool low level tech. Great evasion and reckless attacker, I believe, combined requires you to be able to do a level 7 technique as a boost, which, still within season 1, you need a few levels on you. You can access it level 4, I believe. Yeah, starting level 4. But conceptually, I really like it because it lets you kind of choose, right? Do I want to have +1 to attack rolls this turn, or do I want to have +1 to defense rolls this turn? There's just this really cool kind of balance effect going on. It almost counts as a stance skill before we've officially rolled out the stance skills, so very much on board with that. But beyond that, let's look at some techniques that we've built for the system. And I can start with some of the Valor Live characters. I'm very intentionally obscuring a lot of the things here because I don't want folks to see too much of the behind-the-scenes for Valor Live. But I did want to talk about Roxy Steele at the very least. I think she changed her name to Roxy Stone, like, in conversation, so we were desperately trying to reset that, and then her character sheet didn't end up changed. But for those of you who do watch Valor Live, Roxy is actually a stone dragon, which means that she took on a human form, but was definitely not a human. And Roxy, her build is very interesting in that, despite being a stone dragon, which is bulky rock thing, she was an agility build, an agility mind rogue build, which she took some health boosting abilities, but she's not nearly as tough as you would expect of a stone dragon. And you can kind of see that in that she throws daggers. She stone dragons in setting, they can bite through rock and steel, and any metal that they consume, they just kind of store in their gut in molten form that they can kind of regurgitate and spit at you. So that's their breath weapon, if you will. So Roxy had a dragon form ability, which we did see her use, where she can transform into a dragon. And the way we wanted to represent this, we gave her increased size, obviously, turning into a dragon. Great evasion, which kind of represents the turning into a giant thing made out of rock. Normally, being big will reduce your defense rolls and boost your attack rolls, with the dragon form itself boosting all of your rolls. Great evasion functionally negates that evasion loss from the increased size. So she's easier to hit a bit, but when everything's said and done, she as a dragon is still a bit harder to hit. We also gave her the Shadow Meld skill, and this is a skill that I don't necessarily see used a lot, but because she was a dragon who was also a rogue, it felt really appropriate, and we just kind of reflavored this. Normally, Shadow Meld lets you hide in plain sight. You kind of meld into the shadows, and you can you can't attack while you're doing this, but if you pop out in that turn, you will be able to sneak attack someone. So using the dragon form would let her, in this case, sink into stone, which is kind of among the powers of the stone dragons, and is how we flavored that. So she didn't get a chance to use this, obviously, but a good kind of technique flow or use flow is when you pop this out, you can still attack someone, and then you can, since it's a move action, you can use your Shadow Meld to meld into the shadows, and then on your next turn, you can dismiss it to get a sneak attack, get the jump on somebody, using your support action to adjust your positioning if you need to. I don't know that Proboscis was a very simple build. I did enjoy his technique names though. This was Josieja's character, and he had some fun with this. But yeah, in general, Proboscis, he was a very simple, I'm just going to hit people or knock people around build. I like his little flavor text here. Right. With the ability to say something phenomenally stupid to make someone lose their ability to attack with magic. And then the ability to go bowling with people. So yeah, Proboscis is pretty simple, but definitely effective. And then there was Luminous Grove, who she's going to be a bit of a lower level character. She was the Fae reporter who joined in episode 3. Hold off on that, Peter. I'm probably going to do a version of this stream every once in a while, so if it's a foes only content, we'll save that for a bit later. I need to get the friggin' foes book done. I really don't want to. Maybe I'll pay you to do it. see how you're feeling on that arrangement, just because I just do not want to do this. Um, okay, but yeah, we'll save that one for now. But Lumi or Luminous Grove, she had her summon ability where where she texts a fan who comes over to help them out, and that was Page Boy 74. Vanessa did a wonderful thing where she actually had Page Boy in the Twitch chat when we were streaming, and had him commenting a bit, and then kind of jump from Page into the game. So that was a lot of fun. And oh, right, yeah, she didn't use this one, but I really liked this one. This is actually a really interesting potential weekend. If you can get it out early, you can really do some damage with it. So this is a weekend that bestows the weak-willed ability, which drops someone's valor by 1. In Valor, if you are at negative Valor, unless you have the underhanded skill, your character will be at a -1 penalty to all of their rolls until their Valor gets up to at least 0. So what Initiate Pylon is basically her getting all of her bloober, the in-universe version of Twitter fans, to just pile on this poor soul who is apparently checking their phone in the middle of battle, because you gotta know when people are roasting you on the stupid fish site. And it lowers their valor so that they fight a bit less effectively potentially in that early round. And also she had and this is a very simple technique. Even at a level 1, it's a line 2 and a blast 1. So spirit build as she is, it's a line that goes out 7 spaces and targets everything within that one space. So it's a 3x7 line. Very powerful, absolutely. But still even achievable at lower levels. And this was kind of her back against the wall, her only attack ability, and she determined that she would only use this ability if her character was pushed to the limit, as it were, which is why it has such a high Valor requirement. I really liked Lumi's build in that it was, for the most part, entirely support-focused. I think support characters are very interesting to play in general, especially with the ability to trade your attack action for a support action. You can do a lot with it. So, and these are all of the guests and what they've done. I don't at this point want to show the builds of the player characters for Valor Live. I apologize if you can hear it. My cat is bitching at me like she's been doing all day. I don't want to show the player characters of Valor Live because they all just hit level 5 and got their ultimates, but they haven't shown those ultimates yet on stream. And I do not want to spoil that. I want to give them the ability to do their reveals on their own terms. But what I can instead talk a bit about is some of our best-in-class characters. And I mentioned this earlier. So Mary is honestly one of my favorite builds that I've done for Valor Live. Her actual name is something to the effect of Her Majesty the Umbral Subjugator of Mortals. She is an Unseelie Fae who is very young, surprisingly talented, and with a surprisingly large amount of focus and dedication for her Fae. Who basically got herself into Mercurial University, the Silver League school that the Best in Class takes place in. And, yes, no, Mary is great. We are planning a stream for this module, and someone may play her. They may play their own original character, too. But basically, this character rolls up to extremely expensive university and declares her intent to subjugate all mortal kind and grind them under her ruthless boot heel. And they're like, well, you scored 1600 on your SAT, so I guess you're in. I don't see any problem with that. Sure, you can train to use your powers better. No problems here. So Mary's build is very interesting. It's I tend to call this the Blood Knight build. Um, if you take a look at her skills and her flaws, she is a crisis build, which means that she gets more powerful as she enters the critical health threshold. And yeah, she gets the Daredevil skill at level 6 once she hits Season 2, since it is possible to hit level 6 before the end of Best in Class if you are playing the module when you are doing some of the side quests. So the way I set Mary up, and you'll note she has very high stamina cost for some of her abilities. Mary has two modes. Either she is hurting herself to hurt other people, or she is using her stamina to heal either herself or her allies. The idea being that as an unseelie fae, she's ripping parts of people's souls out, or just stabbing them with her giant greatsword. Mary definitely has the cloud thing going on, where she's this fairly petite, elfin-looking being. As I said, she's an unseelie fae. But she's got a greatsword that's about as big as she is. Yeah, absolutely agree, Tyler. The crisis builds can get really good. And you see that with this. You see Mary will constantly be damaging herself. Um, and she goes into crisis mode and just starts wrecking faces, but she can still heal herself by using her stamina, of which she has a decent amount of stamina. She's got like 64 stamina here at level 6, with her actual stamina costing techniques costing 11 and 9 respectively, and she can do both of them in a single turn. So if she really wants to go all in on healing, she can do that for about 3 full rounds before she's tapped out. But otherwise, she's just using her techniques and hurting herself to get herself into that threshold. And yeah, crisis builds. If you haven't seen a crisis build before, I definitely recommend trying one out. Or if you're a game master, making a boss enemy with the crisis skills, just to really watch your party sweat. Because once they hit that critical health threshold, your party will probably freak out quite a bit as they start taking significantly more damage, and it gets much scarier. Also, in this, she has a transformation. Again, with the changes in transformations, the transformations used to give you health and maximum health. They don't anymore. They now heal you. But yeah, the extra stats plus the crisis. This particular format will actually give her the regeneration skill, so she will start to slowly regenerate. The big part of Mary's build here is all about that health management, where she really wants to keep herself right at that critical health threshold. Her defenses are pretty decent, so she can kind of maintain that at length. I'm trying to remember if she actually took the defensive skills. No, she took tough, but she didn't take iron defensive resistant. But because she is a mixed stat build, she's got a respectable defense and a respectable resistance. Her health's not great since she's a strength build, not a guts build, but it's serviceable, and it's a bit easier, honestly, to burn down than if she were a full guts build, where guts, especially like gut strength builds, are just so tanky that if you're also making them a crisis, sometimes it's really hard to get them there. But for Mary, it's much more feasible. She goes into crisis at 106 health, but she can keep popping herself back up if she needs to with her special healing abilities, which is a good time there. But beyond that, let's look at Hardy real quick, because I believe Hardy has one of my, just honestly thematically favorite strength techniques to put together. So Breaker Charge here. Hardy's concept is that he's kind of a strength mind brawler, and he's what I would call a Vanguard type unit. If you're familiar with the Mass Effect games, so like he's not the most tanky by a long shot, but he is really about kind of mixing it up on the front lines and just charging in and flinging everybody, which, again, for the Mass Effect fans, you might recall from the Biotic Charge, which was kind of that signature Vanguard ability starting in Mass Effect 2, where you just kind of coat yourself in psychic energy charge and launch people. Breaker Charge kind of follows that concept. So Breaker Charge is a ramming attack, which is the kind of that more strength-based. You run into someone, you start pushing them. It's also a whirlwind ability, so because in this case he's coating himself in psychic force, he basically is doing the Vanguard thing. Like that is literally how I designed this. So he shrouds himself in psychic force and he just charges as this like ball of psychic energy. Which means that with the Whirlwind addition, he also hits people he moves past. So it's got a broad range as he moves to try and hit these people. And then, on top of that, it has a reposition. So, after you've charged and you've pushed them, he then flings them even further. And this is a great way to... did not mean to do that. This is a great way to kind of double tap someone. If you slam them into a wall, for example, you would get that damage increment from ramming them into the wall, and then your reposition would then kick in, which would push them either back into the wall if the wall's strong enough to keep holding them, or through the wall in kind of a 1-2 hit, and they would take a damage increment from both. So you can really... Oh yeah, Doomfist from Overwatch, right? Yeah, he does similar things like that. So yeah, you slam someone into a wall, and either they get wrecked or the wall gets wrecked. But someone's getting wrecked when you do this ability, and you'll see from Hardy's general build, he's also an improved damage increment. He is one of these characters He is kind of a DPS, but his thing is all about stacking those damage increments. I believe he also has the Feint skill, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So, because he is a Strength Mind build, which is kind of an unusual Strength Mind melee, with a pretty respectable health line. He's Strength, Agility, Mind balanced. So he's very mobile. He can do a lot of damage. He gets a lot of his damage from the damage increments. He's very fast, so he goes first. I think my initial concept for this character before I converted it over to this adventure was like a kind of like a football player type thing. So you can see a lot of that in the DNA here. Very fast, very strong, but still has a lot of that tech from the mind, so they can be more strategic too. Hardy is actually one of the characters we have pegged as a commander character. Hardy and who was the other one? Madison. Yeah, Hardy and Madison are the two kind of leader characters in this sample character set. There are 10 characters, each one kind of encapsulating a combination of two of the attributes. Usually when I'm building a new set of characters, I'll go through the 10, and then I'll pick like, a strength agility, which Hardy is technically a representative of the strength mind, I believe, but I'll pick like a strength agility, a strength spirit, strength mind, strength guts, and just kind of go down the line. And yeah, Tristat definitely can be rough. I didn't honestly feel especially limited with his build. He picks up Feint a bit late, as you can kind of see. He picks up Tough a bit late too, so he's a bit fragile early on. But honestly, I did not struggle too bad with getting what I wanted for him. Honestly, I really like this build. It's kind of ridiculous, but in a really fun way just because he can kind of get into the thick of things and just start blasting people across the field like it ain't even a thing. Like this is his basic attack, his Titanic Slam here, where he has a reposition 7 on this thing, where he just punches someone with psychic power and they go flying across the map. And you see, which is very common for a lot of these damage increment builds, everything's got reposition on it, right? Also, his transformation, Psychic Fortitude, is also fun because it gives him the Powerful Blow skill, which increases the amount of reposition he does by 1. So Hardy is all about smacking people around the map. I tried to make all of these sample builds a lot of fun. One of the things we're trying to do, and I've been working on, Peter actually, who is our editor for those who don't know. I just sent him what I hope is the last of the best in class texts to be reviewed. The initial intent was to ship this book with character sheets for all 10 of these characters, plus the 3 bonus characters that Kickstarter paid for, and just have all of their character sheets in the back of the book. Problem here being that each character sheet is itself at least 2 pages, if not 4, and that adds up a lot, and it could very easily jump my printing cost by about $1,000, which I'd prefer not to do. So we are still committed to the fact that you can buy this off the shelf and just play the game even if you don't have the book. Especially for Best in Class, that was a big thing for us, is we want you to be able to just pick this up and play it and have a good time with Valor, even if you haven't bought the core book. And we will still retain that. It's just we're going to have some level up guides instead, which kind of just walk you through the process, but in a much lower page count, and then we'll host the full packet of character sheets online. But yes, yeah, the character sheets will absolutely be available online. My hope is that someday I will have some spare cash to completely revamp the site, but they should be pretty easy to find on our main website. But even still, the print version will have instructions on how to build all of these characters. It's just I'm trying to truncate it down to as few pages as possible to keep my printing costs down so that I can, hopefully actually make some money off this book. This book's already gone way too long. It's been quite the experience getting it together. But anyway, so that's Technique Workshop Class 1, I guess we'll call this. We'll probably revisit this concept every once in a while to go over and showcase some of our user techniques and whatever. Are there any questions for chat? Any more last minute techniques someone wants to throw in and show off? Well, if there's nothing else, I think we'll go ahead and wrap for today. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it. It's nice to have some conversation going and, discuss the various crazy techniques that people come up with. I'm thinking for the next stream, what might be interesting, and I believe this does constitute fair use, so I'm going to do some inquiries. I might throw up a poll on Twitter or something like that, but if folks are interested, I might like to... there was one. You can go ahead and throw that up if you want, Trainer. I don't mind chatting about it for a bit, even if it eventually was not part of the build anymore. It's still worth talking about. But yeah, if folks are interested though, while we get that going, I may do a talk on how to run a popular shonen series in Valor, if that sounds interesting to folks. Maybe put up a poll or something, talk about possibly Dragon Ball or Bleach. That would be a good, cool thing to do if I could get Quinn, the co-creator, on here as well, since they have run or been part of most every single big shonen or other series. Right, yeah, exactly. Emily says it best. Is it most of these we've already done, right? So possibly get Quinn in here. Um, I know you don't really like to do voice chat, Emily, or I'd offer for you since you also have a wide breadth of experience. But yeah, so yeah, Quinn did Bleach, Naruto, Dragon Ball. I've done Persona, for example, on my case. Um, so yeah, folks are interested in that. It sounds like there is. Might look to throw up a poll and see what kind of series people want us to talk about converting to Valor. Although, depending, it may just be that everyone's going to vote for My Hero Academia, which is totally fine because I definitely did binge that entire series over the last week since I'm trying to get use out of my Viz subscription. All right, cool. Trainer's got the second here. Emperor's Grasp. An ultimate damage. Okay. Let's see here. We got a Mind. Persist Blast 1, line 3. Okay, so as a Mind, that would be a 3x9 line that you can move with line variation. I like it. Oh. Okay. I see how this one gets interesting. I know, yeah, you say that has a set pattern for the attack field. So, yeah, multiple targets 4 means you shoot 5 different lines out. Um, so that's really funny. Yeah, let's go ahead and pull it. Oh, I like that. So it always comes out in this format, I guess. A set pattern for the attack field. Oh, that's I like this a lot, yeah, because it's just this big, like, complicated line symbol thing. Um, the terrain disruption is really cool. Reposition on it. Smart area effect is always good because you are absolutely going to catch one of your allies in this without it. Buddha Palm for multiple rounds. I like that. No, I totally see it too. The hand symbol. This is really cool. No, right, because you were the one who was asking about limits for set patterns for techniques. This is a really good use of it. It's thematic. It's interesting. It hurts a lot, and it's very flashy. I dig this. No, this is great. Although now I'm just seeing Kung Fu Hustle. I think it was where they do the big Buddha palm thing at the end, and it's glorious in its stupidity. Um, but no, this is great. Yeah, I would imagine that would disrupt the enemy pretty well. You can't really very easily move into this, and honestly, with folks with reposition, you can probably pull people into it, especially if you're using the grapple rules that show up in the early access for tools. You can really do a lot in just locking people down and forcing them to stay in this giant Buddha palm of destruction. No, this is great. I love big area of effect abilities that just stay there and make everybody hurt. Oh, you're right. Yeah, the reposition to trap everyone inside it and keep them where the party could bombard them. Very good. Very good. All right. Well, I think that is going to be it for me for tonight. So yeah, I'll look into some things, and yeah, maybe we'll in a week or two we'll consider doing a stream on how to convert a popular manga or an anime into Valor, and what you would do. Maybe we'll look into having a guest for that, depending on what we're doing. But yeah, thanks to everyone for coming out to the stream. Thank you also for sharing all of your techniques. That was a lot of fun, just kind of going over these and seeing what immensely inventive things you do with the system. Nothing makes me happier than seeing the creativity that the technique system brings out of people. And it's a lot of fun to create these things and then make your enemies hurt with them, as it turns out. So, but yeah, that's it for me for tonight. We'll look to I'll make some announcements on the next stream once I get the idea for it. And then yeah, we will be back. If not this coming Tuesday, then the Tuesday following. I think I'm kind of slipping into an every other week schedule for these streams or thereabouts. So have a good night, everybody, and